Hey everybody, welcome to the next Batman and Spawn review. This one's from back in the day in the 90s. This one's called War Devil. It was written by Doug Moach, who was famous for Batman and Dracula, one of my favorite ones. That one was drawn by Kelly Jones. Chuck Dixon was another writer for this one. Him and Moach both worked on Nightfall, which was when Batman got his back broken by Bane. And then we have Alan Grant, who wrote Etrigan in the 80s, one of my favorite characters, the demon Etrigan. So yeah, 3 writers on this, and we had Klaus Janson, who was famous for his artwork on Wolverine, Spider-Man, Daredevil. He's worked with Frank Miller a lot too. So this had a big bunch of artists, a bunch of writers and artists on this one. The story, well, let me know what you think. So let's start War Devil. So this one starts off going into the whole Roanoke colony legend about how the colonists came and disappeared. There was 120 colonists. Nobody knows what happened to them. And then the only thing that was left was the word Krakoan up on a tree. So it starts with that legend. So it says the colonists disappeared, and then they had an upshot of the colony, and it looks like a pentagram was drawn around it. So something satanic happened to these people. And then we go to present day Gotham, where something satanic might be happening there too. So we find Batman, or Matches Malone, trying to get information on a Mr. Virgil Dare. Virgil is, I guess, a big time criminal who's been buying explosives, and he was connected to Bruce Wayne's old real estate and a building that was being built there in Gotham. So Batman wants to make sure this is, he thinks it's connected to some type of terrorist activity, so he springs into action. So while Batman's springing into action, we have Spawn kind of having this little mental relapse about finding, who he is, and he's a little tormented. He's a lot more, let's say, intermonologuing about his past and who he was and how he wants to find his real face. So Batman finds out about Simon Vesper, who was somebody who was building this Gotham Tower in the middle of the city, and then it got condemned, but it looks like it's starting up again, or it got finished. And all of a sudden Spawn's in an alley in New York, and a paper hits him, and he finds the paper about how the Gotham Tower is going to be rebuilt, and he starts remembering something that happened back in the day involving the tower. So Spawn, aka Colonel Al Simmons, starts to remember that he was put on a contract kill to kill the guy who was in charge of building the tower. Somebody paid him off, and he shot the guy in the head and killed him. So Spawn is thinking maybe if he goes back to Gotham, it'll start piecing things together and he can figure out what's going on in his head. So Batman's listening in to Dare talking about the explosives they bought, and his men are saying we have more than enough bang for our buck, yada yada yada. And Batman is trying to follow wherever this guy's going to go to find out probably where the explosives are. So while Batman's thinking about it, he's remembering Simon Vesper, who was the guy that got shot in the head 6 years ago. The guy that Spawn, or aka Colonel Al Simmons, shot. So Batman confronts Dare, and Dare is saying he's not doing anything illegal, that he's working for Simon Vesper, the guy who owns the building. Batman's like, Simon Vesper was shot 6 years ago. How are you working for him? And Dare's like, he left instructions on the event of his death and his disappearance, that a regular 6-year plan until the opening of the building. And he's saying, I ain't doing anything illegal. And Batman's like, well, I'll catch you later. So Spawn enters Gotham at this point and is looking towards the tower. Now, for some weird reason, all of a sudden, the body of, guess who, Simon Vesper, comes out of the grave, and he's I guess, feeding off of these poor dead these cats. And he's taking their energy and stuff while walking around naked. So, really quick, all of a sudden, news breaks that Simon Vesper is alive, and there's going to be a ceremony for the building. That was really quick, by the way. But anyway, so you guys got to keep the story going. So Batman's trying to figure out 6 years. This guy comes back from the dead. What's going on? Spawn looks on the screen, and he's like, I killed him. How is he alive again? And he heads towards the tower some more. So he finds his old buddy Dare, and Simon and Dare are talking, and all of a sudden, Simon kills his loyal partner or whatever, and writes something with his blood. Oh, pentagram. What else? And the word Croatoan. So I guess that connects to the beginning with the whole Roanoke thing. I mean, you know, you got. So in this panel, unlike the other comic, Spawn attacks Batman. Thinks Batman's like bought from a demon from hell or whatever, and he's questioning, why are you following me? Who are you? This and that. And Batman's like, you know, what the heck? And they kind of go at it for not as long as the other one. Batman's standing over Spawn and pretty much saying, why are you in Gotham and when are you leaving? And Spawn's like, you don't know how close you came to me killing you. And Batman's kind of like, whatever. And then Batman's asking, do you have anything to do with the pentagram of blood and this and that? And Spawn's like, pentagram. And then that pretty much gets them to kind of piece up a little bit. So while they're on their way there, Vesper sets out the fires in Gotham that makes a pentagram around his building, around Gotham Tower, as a kind of like a demonic ritual to bring something alive or dead. Of course, zombies, because what else would come, right? So the zombies are in Gotham, around the area. The cemetery is letting out all the dead to do whatever the dead do. So Simon gets empowered, and all of a sudden he has superhuman strength, and he's tossing Batman around, kicking Batman's butt. People are yelling and screaming while he's probably frying them, and all of a sudden he gets this pink energy, and he starts turning into a big pink chubby demon. Yeah. So he's all laughing, and all of a sudden all this green energy comes and pins him to the wall. That was quick. So while he's talking, he was saying that he was pretty much a distraction for the true Lord to come. The demon of Croatoan, probably the one that ate all the settlers. So while the two are chatting, Batman wakes up, sees Spawn on the floor, and the demon's almost on top of him. Batman takes out grenades. Isn't it funny how, like, grenades and fire hurts demons in movies and stuff? Like, you would think they'd be immune to it. But anyway, he throws the grenades, and the villain, the creature goes sideways. So while the demon is distracted, Spawn uses his magic powers to defeat it. He kills it, and then the other guy falls off the floor and starts to crawl into the pentagram, and they both disappear. Spawn tells Batman there's still something he has to do. He uses his power to send all the zombies back to sleep. So Batman and Spawn defeat the demons. The police and fire are doing their thing. Batman and Spawn are watching from another rooftop. And Spawn turns to Batman and says, what is it that makes a man good or evil? And Batman says, good and evil are not determined by the intercourse of people with one another, but entirely by the way a man's reflection of himself is. Makes sense? And he says, I gotta go. My city needs me. And he leaves. And Spawn looks at Batman flying away and says, that's the kind of man I want to be. So that's the end of Batman and Spawn, the other telling. So tell me what you think. Do you like the other one by Todd McFarlane and Frank Miller, or do you like this one more? I'd love to hear in the comments, and I'm interested to hear people's takes on both stories. So until then, well, the new one comes out next month. We'll do a small review on that at some point. Probably spoiler free if we read it early. But everyone, enjoy. Have a good one, and stay encouraged, people. Talk to you soon.